is a serious question, but I want to ask it with a lighthearted example. Have you seen the bunnies that are jumping on the trampoline?
Yes.
So, for those who haven't seen it, maybe it looks like backyard footage of bunnies enjoying jumping on a trampoline. And this has gone incredibly viral recently. There's a human made song about it, it's a whole thing.
There were bunnies that were jumping on a trampoline.
And I think the reason why people reacted so strongly to it, it was maybe the first time people saw a video, enjoyed it, and then later found out that it was completely AI generated. In this time travel trip, if we imagine in 2030 we are teenagers and we're scrolling whatever teenagers are scrolling in 2030, how do we figure out what's real and what's not real?
I mean, I can give all sorts of literal answers to that question. We could be cryptographically signing stuff and we could decide who we trust their signature if they actually filmed something or not. But my sense is what's gonna happen is it's just gonna like gradually converge. Even like a photo you take out of your iPhone today, it's like mostly real, but it's a little not. There's like it's some AI thing running there in a way you don't understand and making it look like a little bit better. And sometimes you see these weird things where
The moon.
yeah. But there's like a lot of processing power between the photons captured by that camera sensor and the image you eventually see. And you've decided it's real enough, or most people decided it's real enough. But we've accepted some gradual move from when it was like photons hitting the film in a camera. And, if you go look at some video on TikTok, there's probably all sorts of video editing tools being used to make it better than look better. Yeah, exactly. Or it's just like, whole scenes are completely generated, or some of the whole videos are generated, like those bunnies on that trampoline. And I think that the sort of like the threshold for how real does it have to be to consider to be real will just keep moving.
So it's sort of an education question. People will.
Yeah, I mean, media is always like a little bit real and a little bit not real. Like, we watch like a sci-fi movie. We know that didn't really happen. You watch like someone's like beautiful photo of themselves on vacation on Instagram, like, okay, maybe that photo was like literally taken, but there's like tons of tourists in line for the same photo and that's like left out of it. And I think we just accept that. Now, certainly a higher percentage of media both will feel not real. But I think that's been the long-term trend anyway.
We're going to jump again.
Okay.
2035. We're graduating from college, you and me. There are some leaders in the AI space that have said that in 5 years, half of the entry-level white-collar workforce will be replaced by AI. So we're college graduates in 5 years. What do you hope the world looks like for us? I think there's been a lot of talk about how AI might cause job displacement, but I'm also curious. I have a job that nobody would have thought we could have,
Totally.
a decade ago. What are the things that we could look ahead if we're thinking about
I mean, in
being college
2035, that
graduates?
like graduating college student, if they still go to college at all, could very well be like leaving on a mission to explore the solar system on a spaceship in some kind of completely new, exciting,
Oh my God.
super well paid, super interesting job, and feeling so bad for you and I that like we had to do this kind of like really boring old kind of work and everything is just better. Like I 10 years feels very hard to imagine at this point.
Because it's too far.
It's too far. Like if you compound the current rate of change for 10 more years, it's
I might
probably
need to
something we
change
can't
my
even.
time travel trips.
10 years, like, I mean, I think now would be really hard to imagine 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But I think 10 years forward will be even much harder, much more different.
So let's make it 5 years. We're still going to 2030. I'm curious what you think the pretty short-term impacts of this will be for young people. I mean, these like half of entry-level jobs replaced by AI makes it sound like a very different world that they would be entering than the one that I did.
I think it's totally true that some classes of jobs will totally go away. This always happens, and young people are the best at adapting to this. I'm more worried about what it means, not for the like 22-year-old, but for the 62-year-old that doesn't want to go retrain or reskill or whatever the politicians call it that no one actually wants but politicians in most of the time. If I were 22 right now and graduating college, I would feel like the luckiest kid in all of history.
Why?
Because there's never been a more amazing time to go create something totally new, to go invent something, to start a company, whatever it is. I think it is probably possible now to start a company that is a one-person company that will go on to be worth like more than $1 billion, and more importantly than that, deliver an amazing product and service to the world. And that is like a crazy thing. You have access to tools that can let you do what used to take teams of hundreds. And you just have to like, learn how to use these tools and come up with a great idea. And it's like quite amazing.
If we take a step back, I think the most important thing that this audience could hear from you on this optimistic show is in two parts. First, there's tactically, how are you actually trying to build the world's most powerful intelligence? And what are the rate limiting factors to doing that? And then philosophically, how are you and others working on building that technology in a way that really helps and not hurts people? So just taking the tactical part right now. My understanding is that there are 3 big categories that have been limiting factors for AI. The first is compute, the second is data, and the third is algorithmic design. How do you think about each of those 3 categories right now? And if you were to help someone understand the next headlines that they might see, how would you help them make sense of all of this?
I would say there's a fourth too, which is figuring out the products to build. Like technology, like scientific progress on its own, not put into the hands of people, is of limited utility and doesn't sort of co-evolve with society in the same way. But if I could hit all 4 of those.
Yeah.
So on the compute side, yeah, this is like the biggest infrastructure project, certainly that I've ever seen. Possibly it will become I think it will, maybe already is the biggest and most expensive one in human history. But the whole supply chain, from making the chips and the memory and the networking gear, racking them up in servers, doing, a giant construction project to build like a mega data center, putting finding a way to get the energy, which is often a limiting factor piece of this, and all the other components together. This is hugely complex and expensive, and we're still doing this in like a sort of bespoke one-off way, although it's getting better. Like eventually we will just design a whole kind of like mega factory that takes, spiritually, it will be melting sand on one end and putting out fully built AI compute on the other. But we're a long way to go from that. And it's an enormously complex and expensive process. We are putting a huge amount of work into building out as much compute as we can, and to do it fast. And, it's going to be like sad because GPT-5 is going to launch and there's going to be another big spike in demand, and we're not going to be able to serve it. And it's going to be like those early GPT-4 days. And the world just wants much more AI than we can currently deliver. And building more compute is an important part of doing that. This is what I expect to turn the majority of my attention to, is how we build compute at much greater scales. So how we go from millions to tens of millions and hundreds of millions, and eventually, hopefully, billions of GPUs that are sort of in service of what people want to do with this.
When you're thinking about it, what are the big challenges here in this category that you're going to be thinking about?
We're currently most limited by energy. Like if you want to run a gigawatt scale data center, it's like a gigawatt. How hard can that be to find? It's really hard to find a gigawatt of power available in short term. We're also very much limited by the processing chips and the memory chips, how you package these all together, how you build the racks. And then there's like a list of other things that are, there's like permits, there's construction work. But again, the goal here will be to really automate this. Once we get some of those robots built, they can help us automate it even more. But just, like a world where you can basically pour in money and get out a pre-built data center. So that'll be a huge unlock if we can get it to work. Second category, data. Yeah. These models have gotten so smart. There was a time when we could just feed it another physics textbook, and it got a little bit smarter at physics.